All right. Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this sunny afternoon. We hope you had a chance to get outside yesterday and maybe later on before it starts raining over the weekend. But we appreciate you tuning in. We're here with Jamie Goodin from Shenandoah Small Business Solutions. Jamie, if you, for those not familiar, has lived in Lexington for over 12 years, and he is a man about town. He works at Washington and Lee University and is the marketing director for Lime Kiln, is involved with a lot of other initiatives, including Main Street Lexington, the Lexington-Rockbridge JCs. You probably saw a lot of him with Buena Vista's revitalization efforts with Go BV and Action BV. And he's currently working on the Walker program, amongst other things. So he's the perfect person to help guide us through these de-stressing practices with and not kind of tuning out the techno noise that many of us are dealing with right now. So some housekeeping. If you have questions for Jamie, please feel free to leave them in the chat box. We will be taking a look at that. We are recording the session and we will make that available on our Facebook page within the next couple of days. So if you want to just don't worry about taking notes, we'll put it out there for you guys. Just enjoy it today. And yeah, so Jamie, we'll turn everything over to you.
Great. I'm happy to be here. It's great to see everybody. Many of you I haven't seen in person in some time, so we'll try to make the most of it. As we get into this, keep it as casual as you'd like. Interrupt me, pop in with any questions, and we'll do the best we can. If I go a little bit quickly, forgive me. I just want to make sure we have time. There's questions at the end. So here we go. So you can see my screen? Great.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the presentation I first gave the WNL faculty and staff maybe a year and a half ago. It's crazy to think that this is almost March. So I'm not sure when it was, but I thought it would be useful to share with the rest of the community because a lot of folks out there, and probably especially the folks on this call, we're very busy. We are yes people. So how can you be a yes person without, burning out and just hating your life? So that's kind of the premise of this conversation. So we signed up for technology-related tools, which we will discuss. However, when I was thinking about that, I was just thinking about the nature of stress, and I started to wonder if it would be possible to talk about tools if we didn't talk about the cause of the problem first. And we'll be talking about a lot of questions, what is stress, what is your work life? Because I feel they must be clearly defined before we can start using any tools to address those issues. What is a tool if you don't know what you're working on? So we're going to step outside of the zone of technology tools for the first half of this presentation so you can start to ask ourselves a lot of questions. Starting off, so imagine your work life is complete with meaning, creativity, and vision. Hopefully that's the case today. Maybe it's not, but just imagine what that would feel like. Just take a moment and just not just think what it would be, but feel what it would be. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't you feel lighter and be more excited about going to work and coming back home? And also that what if stress, anxiety, and worry were your decision, your choice, not things that are just forced upon you? What if you were in control? That's the ideal in this at least in my viewpoint. So as we move forward, just some guiding principles, just for our knowledge. This deck is meant to be a personal reference tool for later. We're going to ask a lot of questions that I feel like will be useful for you to review periodically throughout the year. I also believe that psychological freedom is, up there with financial, social, and political freedom. The financial, social, and political are external, but we must be free internally as well. And a lot of what we'll talk about will be some tools and systems, and it's easy for folks to see that stuff and feel overwhelmed, but it's enough for an investment in learning these tools so that later on you can reap the rewards of having less to worry about. Then ask yourself this: would you rather make it look difficult or make it look easy? Because once you start to do this stuff and you realize how much extra free time you have, other people will think it's looking easy for you, which is okay. I'm sure some of my colleagues at WNL and beyond, they may ask themselves, what exactly does he do? Because it looks like he's not working very hard, which is cool. I'm not trying to look like I'm working hard. And finally, tools leverage energy and tension. They do not create it. So a tool is just a tool. It's not the thing in itself that's going to help you. So just a little background on me for those who don't know me. So I've just been actively cultivating a practice of seeing something that's curious and having a lot of fun exploring it. That is what I decided day one when I moved back to Lexington after college. In that, personal growth and being intentional to create a meaningful contribution to our small community. That's why I love Rockbridge. It is something where it is small enough where we can contribute and see those contributions relatively quickly. And then in 2017, I was just doing so much. I was getting burned out. I hated it. Just tired all the time. So I realized, okay, I need to figure out how to solve this problem. So I want to be effective, but I can't be effective if I'm worrying and stressing all the time. So now today I'm going to share some of the stuff I've learned. So just a little bit more stuff, just to breeze through this. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list or to be showy in any way. It's meant to show that these are the things I've been curious with and the things that I have a lot of fun doing. And I'm fortunate to be in that position. So yeah, I have a consulting firm. I've done some cool stuff with Main Street Lexington and the Main Street program in general. I've been thrilled to be involved with Lime Kiln, Lex Collective, the Makerspace, Action BB, etc. I was able to help make a microloan program to help entrepreneurs, and I'm also helping them today with the Walker program. Been involved with Main Street Lexington's leadership, planning commission, JCs, all kinds of stuff that I think is fun and interesting. Help do a lot of event management, which is awesome. You know, what's the community without fun stuff to do? Volunteering, a lot of grant stuff, doing the Go BV work. And I started a band, which I think may be a great band one day, and we're never going to play Wagon Wheel. So sorry if that breaks any of your hearts. And also, I was able to, this is the last few years, found my wife. Well, I convinced her to marry me. And all this, I've been having a full-time job. Now, this is not a backdoor brag. I was never alone, always part of great teams. And I consider myself fortunate and really lucky. But it's rather is food for thought. What could you do if you really sat back without judgment and asked yourself what is possible? What if your life was your choice and you were not subject to life itself, but the other way around? What if you just wanted to be an explorer? And what if you decided to eliminate stress? Perhaps you could achieve whatever you wanted to achieve and explore any curiosity you may have. That's why I list those things. So as we get started to examine and ask those questions, these are the 5 things we're going to be talking about first. Painting a picture, some goal setting. I think regulating your energy is a key part of this equation. And in that, systematizing your tasks and then reviewing all of it. So we're about to ask ourselves some rhetorical questions. Feel free to answer if you want. I'm not expecting that. Really, the only person asking and answering these questions are each individual. And this is the part that I would recommend you come back and check out periodically throughout the year. So as we're painting a picture about our life, because I feel like the whole notion of a work-life balance, we all like the idea of compartmentalizing work and life, but at the end of the day, we are one person with one mind and one set of emotions. So I find it most productive to view everything as your life. But that said, a lot of these questions can apply to professional life or personal life. So what is truly meaningful to you? And as we're answering these questions, and as you do it later on by yourself, take a moment, take a minute, to really think through and feel. Think and feel. That is very crucial. What is the most stressful thing you can imagine? Maybe a lot of that has happened in the last calendar year. Or maybe it's something that one day you know is going to happen. That's the inevitable things. Or maybe it's the thing that you're working on right now. But feel that stress? Where would you like to be in 1, 2, 5, 10 years? Here's an example when you start to ask these questions. This is kind of my working personal mission statement. You don't have to have your own mission statement, but I find it useful. So I find meaning in using what I have to best contribute to the world. I'm responsible for creating an ideal reality for myself and my loved ones via mindfulness, gratitude, discipline, financial independence, creative expression, and helping to empower others. That is my shtick. Everything I do is part of this, which I find easy. You don't have to worry about anything else. So as we're setting goals, what must you do to exist? You can imagine Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's one way to conceptualize it. But what do you actually have to do in your life? Pay the bills, eat, get gas in the car. And then on the next level, what must you do to perpetuate your lifestyle? You know how you want to live with your loved ones. What do you need to do that? Is it about money? Is it about time? Is it about something else? Just write this stuff down. Get it out of your brain and onto a piece of paper. And then what must you do to just enjoy life? Managing your relationships, making sure your health and your hobbies are all being explored. Write that stuff down. It's better to overwrite than underwrite in this case, as we're setting our goals individually. What do you love? And that's a strong word. Maybe it is the sunshine and the 60-degree weather. I honestly love that. Or maybe it's something else for you. What gets your heart pumping? The thing that you look forward to, the thing that as soon as it's done, you are on cloud 9. What are those awesome things? On the flip side, what do you hate? We all know these things that we hate. We procrastinate them. We would rather clean up our entire house before we start working on them. What are those things? What takes your energy away? It's important to know these things so you can start to incorporate them into a better way to manage your energy. What do you dread? What do you do that you don't actually have to do? Of all this stuff, we're writing it down. Some of these things may be measurable, some of them may be not, but go ahead and put a little asterisk next to the things that are measurable, just for your knowledge, and we'll come back to that later. There's the 80-20 rule, also called the Pareto principle. That is an old economic rule of thumb that I'm sure many of y'all have read about before. It's basically that in anything, 80% of the results will come from 20% of the inputs. It could be an organization where 20% of the people do 80% of the work. It originated in somebody's garden. He realized that his pea plants, 20% of the plants were producing 80% of the yield. And then he kind of realized, oh wow, this little rule of thumb is all over the place, and sometimes it may be 99-1. And that's to start to ask yourself, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? And would you be better served to focus on making your strengths stronger? Because theoretically, they're the things producing most of your results. Or on the other hand, do you want to spend time trying to make your weaknesses better? That should be a conscious decision for each of us. So when I think of goal setting, I kind of break out life into these 5 things. And spiritual is the 6th. That's kind of, I view as the sum of the 5. So that's physical, my body, making sure I'm making enough money to survive, that kind of stuff. Intellectual is just feeding my knowledge and brain and interests. Emotional is, emotional. Social is self-explanatory. And creative is how I express myself. For me, I love to cook. I love to play music. How can I make sure that is a part of who I am? Maybe y'all can use different paradigms, but I think this covers a lot of it. And the spiritual, for me, spiritual is what is one's relationship with the universe. We can talk for hours about that over beer sometimes. We don't need to get deep into it today. but just think about that as well. It means many things to different people. And the next thing is regulating your energy. So other questions to ask yourself about that is, when are you most awake each day? Is it 8:30 a.m.? Is it 8:30 p.m.? What about each month? Is it payday? The evening after on payday? I'm pretty energized then. Throughout the year too. Are you I'm a New Year's guy. January, other than December because it's so festive, January is my favorite month because I'm able to get cracking on what's about to happen. It could be different for everybody, but it's nice to know this about yourself. When are you most tired in the day, in the year, in the week? I'm very drained on Thursdays. Feeling great today. I'm happy to be here. But generally, Thursday is my day where I'm like, all right, let's get through this. And what gives you energy? We kind of talked about that earlier. It could be, a Red Bull, or it could be a walk outside, or it could be your loved ones or your job. It could be any number of things. And again, what drains your energy? Is it having to do emails? Is it having to, again, do those projects you don't want to do? I personally hate accounting. I've been procrastinating a lot of my business accounting for an embarrassingly long amount of time. So I realized, okay, I need to hire somebody to do that because I'm never going to do it. And this is my question. How do you feel on Saturday at 10 a.m.? That's my favorite time of the week. What if your whole week felt that way? Maybe you have a different time, but think about what is the best time of your week and how can you feel that more often? And on the flip side, what bums you out? What relationships do you love? And who do you avoid? For some folks, sometimes with the whole COVID thing, has been a silver lining has been, I don't have to see some of these people I didn't want to see anyway. And when I do see them, because we're all masked up, I don't even recognize them. So that's something that I noticed about the last year. What inspires you? The documentaries or nature itself? What gives you goosebumps? Write this stuff down. When you're finished listing all this stuff, you can start to think, you may start to see stuff you didn't notice before. So tasks. What must you do each day and month to accomplish the stuff we said earlier? To get paid, to enjoy life, to be able to spend time with friends and loved ones. What tasks are you currently doing every day? This in itself could be a great exercise. Just write it down. I bet you'll realize tasks, big and small, it is a large list. You can start to wonder about delegation or priorities or 80-20 rule and all that other stuff. Which tasks require the most energy? For me, meeting with people both requires the most energy, but it gives me the most energy back, which I love. And then least energy. Computer tasks with other people, tasks when you're going downtown. Can you go to the post office and the bank and the wine store in the same trip? Start to think about that kind of stuff. Another great question: which tasks do you create for yourself, and which are given to you? And some of these questions may be pertinent to you, others not. But these are just things that I ask myself and thought were worth asking. And then self-review. How often do you ask yourself how you're feeling? Maybe it's every day. I hope it is. Maybe it's when you're particularly happy or sad or upset. How are you feeling? Take a moment and wonder. How often do you recognize your habits? I bet they exist. The way I brush my teeth has been the same for so long. But when you think about it, you're like, oh, okay, maybe there is a better way to do it. I have not found that better way. So if anyone has any ideas there, let me know. How often do you consider what you love and hate? How often do you measure your goals? Questions to ask yourself. How often are you deliberate in growth? Do you just let it happen, which is fine? Or do you make it happen, which is also fine? So the above questions were just a few examples aiming for these things. Once you get that big list on your piece of paper or computer, you'll have hopefully a greater sense of awareness of what is your life and more specificity because you've actually listed stuff, not just feelings. And from there, you can start to glean a little bit more intentionality. and it's the intentionality that you must achieve that will make a tool and what it can do for you as great as possible. So all of that was a way to get to intention, because only with intention do I believe that can a tool be fully utilized. So we're all in the tools. Does anyone have any questions or comments about any of that stuff so far? I know I've been told by some people that it's a little bit heady, it's too self-helpy, a number of different thoughts on it, which is fine. I'm sure there's some truth in all of that. Shannon, go ahead.
I think it's absolutely incredible, and you are getting to the core of why we are all here anyways, because if we saw stress and we came here, then this is the root of the problem. Like, to me, you are just hitting the nail on the head, and I could not be more grateful. I think the questions of self-evaluation are just, they're essential, and we need more of this, because the more that we take care of ourselves, the more productive we are, the greater our capacities are, and then the more that we can accomplish. So I have nothing but thanks to give.
Well, great. That's awesome. That's by far the most positive response. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure y'all have read the self-help industry is absurd these days. I'm sure you've read a lot of stuff that kind of touches on this. I encourage you to explore those notions as you see fit. And just for your knowledge, at the end of this deck, there is a truncated reading list. And that's a lot of these ideas are not my own. They're just kind of what I've gleaned over the years. All right, now we're at the tools. We're going to talk about a few things. Some of them may apply to you. Some of them may be totally useless to you. That's fine. They're more just ways to start to think about some of the things that you're working with. And as we go into the tools, be understood that a tool should save time and energy, not spend it. So there may be a learning curve. If you're willing to get past that, you should start to see time being saved in the long run. So if something's just kind of tough at first, just ask yourself, is it worth pursuing or not? And if it is, just push through that hard learning curve. Practice makes perfect. Once you habituate this stuff, it becomes effortless. And that's the goal. These are just suggestions. We all have different systems. I'd love for you all to chime in and share yours. A great way in terms of the habituation of stuff is new habits can be facilitated by triggers and routines. So if you do the same stuff at the same time or in the same sequence of events, it becomes easier to do them. A great example for me is I'm trying to get more flexible. I hate stretching, and I never do it unless it's right after I work out. If I don't work out, I will not stretch. So working out helps me to stretch. That's one small example. Okay, so this is a tool for painting your daily picture, which is something I've been doing for years and years now. Too many years to remember, honestly. So what I do at the start of at the very first moment when I sit down behind the laptop each morning, I spend about 10 to 15 minutes getting myself oriented for the day. What I do is I have a Google Doc, and you can see over here, I have one for each day, going back, and basically what I do is I just make a copy of the one from the previous day and use the same document template over and over again. And at the very start of this document, every day, I write down my little personal things I need to always remember, so be present, be grateful, be intentional, that kind of stuff. Then I write down 3 things I'm grateful for from the day before, or more, depends. Then I do a short little game, like what do I want to accomplish today, or a journal, how am I feeling today? And then I have already, because I'm using the same document, I have already written down my goals for the near future, et cetera, and I can quickly read through those to remind myself and re-energize myself. So a little pro tip is, as I said earlier, my energy is the lowest on Thursdays. So what I do, you can see right here, this gratitudes file name that I accessed this morning at 8:20. What I do is every day on each of these things, when I write down my 3 gratitudes, I then copy and paste those into this document. So now I have a list of the things I've been grateful for the last 5 or 6 years. It's 85 pages long. So on Thursdays, what I do is I scroll to a random point, doesn't matter where, and I just read it for 10 seconds. And it just reminds me of how awesome my life is, and it gives me a little extra kick whenever I need it. That alone is so rewarding to just be able to look back and say how grateful I was for my first date with my wife. You know, it's cool to have that nostalgia. How grateful I was to get my dog back then, and then it goes up and into the present day, and one day that'll be something fun to look back on. Yeah, the general theme here is take a few minutes at the start of each day to just get yourself oriented and focused and comfortable, and now it's just automatic. It's just what I do. It's even not a hassle doing on Saturdays anymore. Whenever I first get to the computer, it's just habit. And all these are positive things. You know, what are your mantras? What are you grateful for? How do you feel? They're great to start getting yourself in the zone. Another great tool, I do this every beginning of every year, is I write down my goals for the year. You'll see earlier I mentioned there's wellness paradigms: physical, emotional, social, creative, intellectual. It can be whatever you want. And then I have a general 10,000 feet goal for each one. They're kind of vague, you'll notice. I would like to be in the best shape of my life this year. Then it gets more granular. You know, what does being in the best shape mean? So it means, to me, it means health, energy, and mobility. For social stuff, it means be a great friend. Like, don't be socially insecure. Try to leave people energized, especially now that COVID is, you know, it's still here and people were very drained last year. How can I be a part of the solution there? Be remarkable at cooking, that kind of stuff. What does remarkable means? To me, it means someone said, "Oh yeah, that was good." You know, that's good enough. Then I add the objective, which is an even more granular way to kind of define if you're succeeding or failing. So that could be anything from going, if I want to optimize my energy, going to bed and waking up at the same time every day. You know, get a regular, make sure my diet is regular and not fluctuating wildly throughout the week. Lifting, stretching regularly, meditating regularly. In terms of one of my social goals, be a great friend, is make sure I'm staying in touch with local folks that I value, as well as the ones that are far away from college or whatever. Then when you go to the KPI, which means key performance indicator, it's just how you actually measure if the goal is happening. So for weight, obviously it's just weight. Step on the scale, see how that changes. For wake time, and I'll show you this tool in a second, I just want to make sure I wake up at the same time at least 6 days a week. Sunday, I can chill. Bedtime, same thing. In terms of regulating my brain chemistry, you know, I want to stop absorbing YouTube, Hulu, Netflix, etc. Hard 2-hour cut each day. In terms of nurturing my distant relationships, I have a list of those important people, and I every 2 weeks I see who's on the top of that list, and I text them to set up a phone call. You know, it's great. I'm still fantastic friends with guys who I haven't been hanging out with regularly in a very long time now. And we chat for like an hour. It ends up being every couple of months, and it's great. Let's see, music, I just got to make sure I practice 5 times a week. It's that simple. Theoretically, that will help me become remarkable. So that's how I look at it. The general realm, the general goal, like how you vaguely define it to yourself, what that goal actually looks like, and then how to achieve those things and how you're going to know if you achieved and how you're going to measure them. So I spend about 1 to 2 hours every January making a new document just like this. I have them for 3 or 4 years now, so it's fun to look back. As we're going into this, I would recommend you do not sweat failure. This isn't about did you succeed or not. This is just kind of just saying, this is what I wanted to do, this is what happened. You know, it's not a judgment thing. It's just about clarity. The more specific the action, the better. So that's why you have this objective and the KPI columns to help you there. Oh yeah, I forgot to change the slide. In 2018, my goal was to speak English and speak Spanish, and the KPI was left blank, so I did not learn to speak Spanish. So I like these columns. Okay, so we had the KPIs. That's great. How are you going to measure that? I use this little app called Habit Bull. It's basically a goal tracking thing. I think it maybe costs $3 one time. And basically, and this is again part of that 1 to 2 hours at the beginning of the year. I just type in my goals, and you can when you type them in, you can say how many times a week or how many times a year or month or whatever. You can even set it to remind you, which I don't, because I hate reminders. I just do it. So every morning when I wake up, as part of my routine of writing down my daily stuff, which I mentioned 2 slides ago, I just open up my phone, go down this list, and say, did I do this thing yesterday or not? So that way, I don't have to worry about trying to type stuff in all day throughout the day as it happens. I just look back on yesterday. And then I'm able to measure immediately all of these KPIs. And it just is in there. I don't think about it. It's just something I look back on maybe every quarter or definitely at the end of the year to see how I'm doing. So if I see that one of my goals was to cut back on how much media I'm consuming, and I'm only doing that 50% of the time, I then have to decide, is that actually a goal I care about? If not, let's take it off the list, stop worrying about it. Or if I do care about it, how can I make it happen more? And this is helping to make sure that your goals and priorities are in alignment when you start to compare the data on the various ones. And it looks like a lot. People hear the word data and they can get intimidated. Just click on it, check it out. It's not an onerous thing at all. So you're tracking your goals. Another thing that's important is tracking your time. I've been using this tool called Toggle. It is free. It is a little browser extension. I use Chrome, and it just hangs up where all the other browser extensions hang. Or actually, no, sorry, it's not. It's just it's a web page that I just keep open at all times. There are a number of web pages, like I'll show you right now. Can you see this screen? One second. Okay, you should be able to see the screen. It says Google. Is that true, Crystal? Great, thank you. So you see up here, I just had the same 5 tabs always open. That way I'm not spending time opening and closing. It is my timer, my task management system, which we'll talk about in a second, my calendar, my drive, and this is the little document I made earlier today about all the stuff I want to do. Those are the 5 things I always have up there. Pinning tabs is a great little trick. Just save yourself a little bit of time. But yeah, toggle track. This is the tab I use. Every time I start something or end, I just push this little button, and I'm able to record how I've been spending my time. Not too much into that, but okay, you see the PowerPoint again? Great. So basically, I push start and stop whenever I transition from certain projects when I'm at my computer. And then in these projects, once you type them in once, they autofill. So you don't have to spend a lot of time being too granular. You can get as granular as you want, but I try to keep it simple to increase the likelihood that I'll actually do it. So I just push start, push stop. On all of my time where I'm actually working on something. Sometimes if I have meetings from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m., I'll go ahead the next morning and just go back and log that time. You know, I use the morning to get the basis. I'm not being chained to these various little things to do at any given moment. I usually do them in the morning retroactively. But I do this one as often as possible during the day. And then here I'm able to see exactly how much time I'm spending on particular projects, which helps me ask myself if cooking happened to have been a bigger priority than helping with the BB development. I totally failed last year. But if the BB development was really super important, that's great. So this is a cool tool to kind of just make sure that your actions are matching with your priorities. It's also, if you're a person that bills by the hour, this is a great tool to just keep it clicking. You never have to worry about that kind of stuff again. So again, just keep that tab open, click start, click stop, type in that little thing that already exists, and that's it. It's really fun to watch at the end of the year what you've been doing. This was, I think, 2018. I'm not sure what happened in 2019. I'm not sure what happened in March. But that's a question. October is always a busy month. In December, we start to chill. Maybe I was on vacation or something. Some other little apps. I use this one to track some of my nutrition. It's called MyFitnessPal. You may have heard of it. This is tied to my watch where I can track my steps. I don't care that much about steps, but some of y'all may, so there it is. And here is where I keep all of my weightlifting routines just in one place, and I can easily chart my growth. There's a million tools out there. There's just a few little other ones. In terms of regulating energy, I already said about something, my spiel about regular wake and bedtime. I try to keep exercise time regular as well. That doesn't always happen because of meetings and that kind of stuff. But you'll notice I'm a huge fan of time blocking and batching. So here, this is next week. In the morning, that's when I'm just chilling by myself. My wife and I take the dog on a walk around 7:15 every day. And then I hit the ground and work. The first thing I do, again, is those daily things that I mentioned a few slides ago. And I blocked off this solid work time because and the exercise time because I have found that is when I'm most productive at computer work. When it starts to be 1, 2 p.m., I'm not feeling it. I just period. So that is what I leave open for all my meetings. We all know where if you have a meeting that butts into you have work time and then you have meeting time and then you have work time and then you have meeting time. The transition of your mind to go from computer work to social stuff can be taxing. I've read some studies that suggest that it takes up to 40 minutes to refocus yourself, which by that time your next meeting could be in 20 minutes. So I'm a huge fan. My mornings are for work. My afternoons are for meeting. Do whatever works for you. But don't be afraid to block this stuff off. I mean, it's your life. It's your schedule. Do it. One tool I've been using recently is called Calendly. So CALENDAR or CALENDLY. And it's a tool that syncs with your Google Calendar. And you can I set 30-minute meetings. People can click on it and they can schedule a meeting that's only when you're available. So it's great. It gives me a notification. That's how I'm scheduling my meetings now. My default meeting is a half an hour. I hate this this kind of old school notion that a meeting is an hour. I don't think that's something we just need to do religiously. So I would invite you to challenge that. Then I try to eat dinner around the same time every day. But the moral of this story is batch life tasks and understand your own energy so that you can know when you have to be with people or be with yourself. Another great tool for regulating energy, there's a technique called the Pomodoro technique. And that basically is if you work in little sprints of 1, 3, 10, 25 minutes or whatever, 45, that will force you to really enter the zone. I don't do this, but I've read a lot about it, so I thought I would share it with y'all. There's a Chrome extension called Timer, and you can see it up here. And once I click on it, I can set a little timer for myself, and then it will automatically buzz when it's done. And that can help me, designate 25 minutes only to email right now, instead of having to go in and out of email all day, every day. I usually use a timer to set myself break time to just chill or watch YouTube or play guitar or whatever. But this is just a little easy to use timer. You can use your phone too. So managing distractions, that's a huge thing. I've been using this Chrome extension called uBlock for, 10 or 11 years now. And it just automatically blocks all ads. It's an ad blocker. Not only does that save you time in terms of distraction, I have no idea how much time I saved just in page load times alone over the years. Because all those ads and videos and graphics have to load. And it adds little bits of seconds here and there. So I would estimate I've saved a month of time maybe in the last 10 years, which doesn't seem like much, but it adds up. And the distraction is the real issue. I highly encourage you to customize your notifications, be it Slack or text or email or social media or whatever. It takes just a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes to go in and just set that up. And that way you can stop being annoyed all the time. Like for my email, for various accounts that I have, some of them I just check in the morning. I take care of everything that needs to be done, and I don't check it again until the next day. And that's just how it is, and people are habituated to that now. Other emails I check more often, but only when I really have to. And a big thing I do, especially when I take leadership of an organization, I just set the tone for what our communications turnaround expectation is. Namely, hey guys, this is a nonprofit I'm talking about, extracurricular thing. Hey guys, we all have full-time jobs. When we send emails, let's look at a 3 to 5 day return response time, not a 3 to 5 minute response time, and that immediately helps people exhale. And that clarity and respect for your colleagues regarding your availability can only help. There's also website blockers. I've experimented with this one before, where it just won't let you pull Facebook up. And that's not for me because I work in social media, but there are some folks where that could be useful for. Then there's Parkinson's law, which is the idea that a project will take as long as you have until the deadline. I'm sure we've had 6-month projects that we really don't get fired up and going until the last couple of weeks. I've been guilty of that many times. To use those deadlines to your advantage and set deadlines before you have to, just to get it done. And those long-term projects that you think about a little bit every day, I hate that. So just get it out of your system. I recommend. Down here, Saturdays, that's what I call my Saturday, where I just do whatever I want. I want Hardee's. I'm not worried about 25 pounds on a Saturday. I eat what I want. I chill. I don't check my email. I don't look at a computer. I'm just doing whatever I feel like I want to do. Having those recharge days, I highly recommend. So systematizing tasks. For tasks, there's a big difference between task entry, like getting an idea that someone says, or an idea that you have into your system. That's one thing. But then actually working on the task is another. These are two separate processes. And for task entry, that's the immediate offloading. I use this little guy. It's small, I don't know, 4 inches by 3 inches maybe. Keep it in my back pocket. Whenever I have an idea or whenever I'm in a meeting or a conversation, that's where it goes. And then the next morning, when I'm doing my morning routine, I just go back, I open this book, and I go back through yesterday's notes, and I write them down into my task completion system. I'll show you in a second. The main notion here is I believe your brain is for processing information, not for remembering it. So if there's something that you need to remember, get it in and out of your brain as quickly as possible. There are some things that you need to remember, but most things you don't. You just need to remember where it is, which is why we have Google Drive and whatever. I just carry this book around, write down stuff, then offload whatever I wrote down the previous day the next morning. I like this more than using my phone because I don't want to be rude to people I'm talking with. Like if I have a great idea when I'm talking to Crystal, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Crystal, it's a little bit cooler for me to write something in a notebook than it is to pull out my phone and start typing. So that's just my personal style. Do whatever works for you, but I like it a lot. So then for task completion, I use Asana. Asana is that big thing I showed you in my browser a moment ago. Basically, it's color-coded task management in a calendar view. There is list view as well. So each of the colors are different projects. So imagine yellow is Chamber of Commerce, purple is taking care of housework, blue is your side business, whatever. It could be anything. I use this really just for myself. There are ways that you can get other people looped in. So like this is a task I need to do. This is a task that this person needs to do. So we can all see the same stuff and know who's working on what at any given time. Generally, I found that as a manager, it works better for me to just use this to remind people what they have to do. Because generally, people learn new tools. But this is a great tool. I highly recommend it. Like imagine you're working on a newsletter. You can plan out the task and all the subtasks at the outset. You can attach documents and files and graphics to the task. So you don't have to worry about trying to find them in email or Google Drive, etc. But I've been using Asana to manage my life for 6 or 7 years, and it is the most important tool in my life. Everything I do, all of my brain, in terms of what I need to execute, is in Asana. So if this system goes down, you're not going to see me for a while because I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm totally screwed without it, which is a vulnerability for me, but it's one I'm willing to accept. So that's something I would recommend. Here's an example of a task. This is a task I have every Thursday of things to just remember to do. To plan my weekend. I'm not one of those guys who plans this weekend on Saturday. I already know what I'm going to do. This is my reminder to call my college friends. This is my reminder to check out my list of things I'm grateful for. This is a reminder to just review how my morning routine is. You know how with Box or Drive, eventually it gets messy and nothing's in the right folder? Well, every Thursday I just make sure any new document is in the right folder. So I'm never worried. And this takes like 2 minutes. And I'm able to clean up my photos, so I always have space. I never run out of space. It can be whatever you want it to be. But that is one example of how I combine Asana with my life maintenance. So instead of spending 2 days to try to figure out how to reorganize my drive, it's just always organized. This is a huge thing. If this is the only thing you take away, you may be happy. A lot of people use their email as a task management system, which is fine. I do that as well. But how many people are actually at inbox 0, which means there are 0 unread emails? It's a great place to be because whenever you see an unread email, psychologically in your mind, you're reminded you need to do something, and that's one of those little stressors for at least me. I hate that. When I go to email, I want to know. I go with intention to do what I wanted to do, not to be distracted by something that I need to be reminded of. So what I've done is I've created 2 folders. This is Outlook. It works in Gmail as well. One is called Act. One is called Response Pending. There's an underscore there just so these folders appear at the top of the list. So when I get an email and someone's asking me to do something, I immediately drag it into Act, or I tag it as Act. When I send an email and I'm waiting for someone to confirm something or for the next step, I drag the email or tag it as response pending. So then one time every day, again in the morning, I go through my app to see what I need to do. And I go through my response pending to see if it's been over a week, I need to send a friendly reminder to someone that I'm still waiting on something from them. And thus, all my emails are all immediately sorted. If this email from Helen was something I needed to do, I don't just do it. I put it into Act and then come back later when I'm going to work on email and then work on it. So every email is instantly either marked as read because it's unimportant, or marked as read and then tagged into one of these things. It's a great way to follow up and not let stuff slip through the cracks. Password management. I use this little browser extension. It's called 1Password. It's so annoying to lose passwords. So I use this. There is a fee. So if you want a free system, this is what I used to do, is create a base password. So in this case, capital Paul, capital M McCartney, exclamation point 2020. A lot of passwords require numbers, characters, capitals are always good. And then that's my base password. For each instance, let's say I'm logging into Facebook or Twitter or whatever, I use the base password at the start, then I append the first 3 letters of whatever I'm logging into. That way, every single password is both unique and the same simultaneously. And this could be a great way for you to not worry about forgetting passwords anymore. I've seen a lot of people spend a lot of time forgetting passwords. And at the end of the day, just click forgot password. That's a pretty seamless system these days too. Self-review, twice a year, summer break, New Year break. I go through my habit bowl. I go through my time tracker and everything to say, okay, how am I doing? This is something I usually do on a day where I don't have to work. I do it on a snow day or a break day or a vacation day to just chill, drink a beer while thinking about it. It's not an intense thing, but it is nice to create mental space where you're not doing it under the gun, because you want to review this stuff when you're in a creative, reflective space. which is what I just said down here. So in conclusion, take the responsibility or the really opportunity, however you want to define it, to live the life you want to live and to choose it. And once you just live the life you live, then you can have a meaningful life. With awareness and curiosity and relaxation and clarity and intention, that is something within your grasp. You're right as a human. And then once you know what your meaning is, be mindful and figure out what is taking away your energy, what is your life, and then use tools and systems to make sure you're focusing on the stuff you want to focus on. And this is a book of resources, which you can go back and see in the presentation. And that's it. Thank you all for your time. I guess it's the beginning of the year still. Does anyone have any questions or anything?
Looks like maybe Roseanne does. Are you trying to unmute yourself?
Unmute. I just wanted to say, I thought this was fantastic. I mean, it covered everything I could possibly want. I like the fact that you started with all of the personal attributes. And it's true, that's really what you look at before you have the actual tools, the physical tools that you need to bring everything into a spot. And I guess for personal, it really made me start thinking about things. What is it that bothers me? What are the things that energize me? And I really appreciate you did a great job.
I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for your time. If you have any questions, I love to hear, or suggestions. I always love learning more about this stuff. And I guess just a little plug for my business, Shenandoah smallbusiness.com or smallbusinesssolutions.com. And essentially the whole mantra of our business is to take the stress out of what you do by helping you delegate the stuff that you hate or you're not good at. So having a non-stress lifestyle is what we're all about.
Well, thank you, Jamie. This was awesome. And I think everyone really enjoyed themselves. We appreciate y'all logging in. Stay tuned. We'll have some more lunch and learns coming up soon. And also our chamber auction, which is going to be all online this year. Just keep an eye out for emails. You'll get notifications about that. But thanks, Jamie. We appreciate it. And everyone have a great rest of your day.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.